All right, got it. Hi, I'm Sherri Duskey Rinker, author of Tiny and the Big Dig, here on Author's Voice.
Welcome to Author's Voice, connecting authors to the world. This is the show LadyBird and Friends, and I am your host, Betsy Bird. Today we are talking about Tiny and the Big Dig, which Scholastic has put out for $16.99. We would like to thank the publisher, Scholastic, for sending us our author. But before we get to her, I would like to say that if you are watching this on Facebook Live, please use the little comment section to submit a question to our amazing guest. You can include your name, you can include where you are from, and most importantly, you can order a signed copy of this very book right now. I'm talking about right now. You can go to authorsvoice.net and you can get your copy sent to you, you lucky, lucky people. But who are we talking about here? Who's the author? Well, see, folks, this is the problem with talking to New York Times bestselling authors. There's a problem here.
Okay.
And it's often that if they work in the realm of children's literature, they're so down home and nice and friendly that you can be lured into thinking that what they do is easy, which it is not. It ain't, in fact. Case in point, you, I would like to say. So, Sherri Duskey Rinker, to my right, is a graphic designer and New York Times best-selling author. Her first picture book, Good Night Construction Site, was inspired by her younger son's obsession with trucks, I believe it was.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
it was. And the book became instant bestseller, selling like hotcakes, won critical acclaim, numerous honors. She has since written up its follow-up, which was Mighty Construction Site, which my kids adore, I would like to say. She has written Big Machines, the story of Virginia Lee Burton, many other titles as well. So thank you, Sherri, for joining us here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. Thank you. And could we address that?
I think we
the
have
matching
to.
shirts,
The
which
elephant
I think,
in the room.
Yes,
yeah.
I think it ties in nicely.
It is.
To
We've got a blue theme.
Yeah, so we called each other.
So very blue. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. We planned this whole thing. All right, so let's talk about Tiny.
Yes.
See, the one problem with the title is that you could be mistaken into reading it as Tiny and the Big Dog, but it is not. It is not. It is the Big Dig.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, obviously, is Tiny a good dog?
Is he a good dog?
Is he a good dog?
I think he has good intentions. Mm-hmm. I think he has a good heart.
Okay, that's a very even-keeled answer to the question.
I think, like all of us, sometimes he might make a mistake or he's very focused and driven. I think, that could perhaps lead him to trouble. But overall, I think he's a good soul.
His intentions are pure.
Exactly. Yes.
Or as pure as a dog's intentions can
Exactly,
be.
exactly, yes.
He has doggy intentions, as they are. So are you a dog person yourself?
Oh my gosh, I adore them.
Do
yes.
you? Okay.
Yeah, I've had dogs my whole life. I have a dog now that I'm incredibly in love with, and she's 10, and so I look at her and hold her little furry ears and say, please don't die, please don't die.
What kind of dog?
She's a giant cockapoo.
Oh, you got a cockapoo.
Yeah, so she looks a little like a golden doodle because she's bigger, but she's got the floppy ears and the sweet big brown eyes. She's very, I love her so much.
I love that we're in an era right now where dogs, like breeds, can have such silly names.
I know.
Literally some of the straightest face.
Yeah.
Labradoodle and, wait, no, what was that in the golden?
Golden doodle.
Golden doodle.
My parents had a schnoodle.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Can we just combine poodles with everything?
Apparently, because
and
yeah.
make fun names?
Yeah, I think so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right. He is not, though, the same kind of dog.
No, I think he's just your basic mutt. I never asked Matt if he was based on some particular breed, so I'm going to say he's just a little mutt.
Now, when you were choosing your hero of the book then? Dog was the go-to. You weren't like, well, I mean, it's about digging, so I
yeah,
guess
it kind of was
really...
an easy, it was an easy fit. And yeah, like I said, I'm very much, there were times in my life where I would have traded my sisters for well-behaved dogs.
Okay.
So, yeah, not now, sisters. We're all good,
Oh,
but there have been times.
You got some angry
Yeah.
emails coming in now by sisters here. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. So you're never going to do like a cat book then?
I don't see myself doing a cat book. I'm not anti-cat.
Sure.
I just don't have sort of that bonding affection with the cats.
That makes sense. You
Yeah.
can't get into the cat head.
I can't. No, that would be a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Sounds more dire than it is. But you know what I mean. All right. So you are considered by many to be the reigning queen of the bedtime.
Wow.
Yes, thanks to Good Night Construction Site, which is like the bedtime book.
No.
Which
there have been other
I have heard stories.
bedtime books
Like
before.
Good Night Moon or something like
Whatever.
that. Whatever that is. I don't know.
Right.
That lady's not around anyway.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine.
Okay, but thank you for the compliment.
Well, it's
I'm
not
honored.
a problem. Now
Thank
that book had a lot of digging.
You're right. It did.
It did, and then the sequel had a lot of digging, and then the story of Virginia Lee Burton, by natural extension, would have digging in it, and then you've got Tiny, and the Big Dig. So I'm sensing a theme. I'm sensing a theme here. I'm very good with themes. Books often have them.
Which
and,
is hilarious, because if you had asked me what do these books
What do you
have
guys
in
have in
common,
common?
I'd have been like, well, they're all for kids.
No,
But
I'm
digging,
gonna get
okay.
analyses on it.
Okay,
all
all right,
I'm gonna
you're
get, so
getting-
you seem inclined to get beneath the surface of things.
No pun
right?
intended.
Yes.
Okay.
But I could go one way with that question. Instead, I'm gonna be like, do you garden?
Do I garden?
Do you garden?
Well,
It's the only time I can think of a human legitimately digging on a regular
I
basis.
have to tell you, I always think nobody can surprise me with questions anymore, but that's good.
You've never gotten the "Do you garden" question? That's a classic.
Well, yeah, not in a book related.
Okay, that's fair. It would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. So, not to toot my own horn,
Mm-hmm.
but I am on the board of the Potawatomi Garden Club.
Okay.
So,
I did not know that. And I'm not
well,
gonna do my little
I
happy
don't
dance for
like
having
to.
figured that out.
I don't like to
so.
spread my credentials around.
I'm
I
just
don't like to
saying.
flaunt things,
Lady
but I'm
likes to
good.
dig. I'm just saying.
I like to dig.
You do?
I do like to dig. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, all right. Oh, you know what? Because we've already gotten a question.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
I'm just gonna switch back and
You'll
forth
read
between
that
mine.
before you throw
well,
it at
because
me.
it actually is appropriate
it's a
for
good
what I
question.
was
Okay.
saying about you being the reigning queen of bedtime.
Okay.
And the question comes from Cara in Houston, and she asks, "Is there one key to writing a good bedtime story?" I am very interested in this answer.
Gosh, it's so funny that people assume I'm some sort of expert on this. I would say, because I only have my own experience and not
Sure.
like, I haven't written, dozens of bedtime stories. I think I take a lot of heat for calling cement mixer, which, by the way, Webster's calls cement mixer too.
Sorry, what are you supposed to call it?
Concrete mixer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cement
And as
is
I
a
said it, I could
component
hear
of
it.
concrete, so I think it's in there. It's okay.
What, you get that for
But
not for like not calling it excavator? You call it excavator.
Excavator,
That's
yeah.
fine.
But my answer is I like the softer C.
Yeah.
So there is something about soothing language
true.
and kind of slowing the pace at the end and repetition. I think that all kind of makes for. But I'm pretty careful with the words, and I like some sound effects, but towards the end, I prefer to sort of,
And then you take it down
leave
a
it to
notch.
quiet. Yeah,
Yeah, that's very
that's
true.
my. If that helps anyone with anything.
Well, and it also kind of answers the question of what is the job of a bedtime book.
Right.
Because to a certain extent, there's a lot of picture books that like rile the kids up, and it's
Right.
like, and now we're gonna do dancing. And then there's other books where it's like, because that's just all I like in books. And then, but then there's books where it's like the whole. Remember that I'm just gonna say it. Horrible bedtime book, which was just like had the rabbit, and the whole point of the book was just to put children to sleep, and it was the most soporific writing.
I'm
the little
proud of-
rabbit who couldn't get to sleep, and
I've
all
never
it is,
read it. I heard
yeah.
it was on the New York Times. Though.
It was on the New York
I
Times
never
because
read it,
this
and
is
I'm
for parents
proud
who
of
think
that.
that books have one job, and that is to render their children unconscious. And that is, to a certain extent,
Yeah.
what a bedtime. So you actually play it kind of both ways. You've got the cool sound,
Right.
and then you take it down a notch.
Well, there's actually a story
And there's a
behind the
story.
evolution of that book, and hopefully there's a story in the book
Oh,
as
sure,
well.
sure, sure.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I won't talk too much about
Okay,
that one just
yeah.
because we are talking about
Okay.
Tiny today.
Yes, okay.
But that is a very good answer.
Okay.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Now, you are coming off of a multi-city tour where you have read Tiny and the Big Dig to many, many, many children. all over the place.
Yeah.
And you, in one case, you got a truly marvelous cake.
I did get it.
I saw the
I did
pictures
get
of
a
the cake. It was in PW.
It was made by 7th and 8th graders. That
Was
cake.
it?
I know. That's
That
not
was
incredible.
a horribly good cake for 7th and 8th graders.
Regardless, it's a great cake.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. No, it was just a good
I've never
cake.
had a cake. So, I've got, friends who post their cakes all
Yeah.
the time, Erin Reynolds, but I've never had a cake. So
Yeah.
I'm honored to have had the cake.
Well, that's awesome. And so, I'm just thrown off now. I just want cake. So from kids, though, what are some of your favorite reactions to Tiny and the Big Dig?
So what has been so fun about this book for me is for all of these years, it hasn't been decades, but for these years, I've presented slow, sleepy bedtime stories.
Oh, true.
And so the ending, I always have to go, okay, let's talk about books and reading.
You look over a scene of children, they're just like,
sound asleep or yawning. Yeah. So the surprise ending of this, which I try to really play up in my keynote presentation by just showing little bits and pieces, and I leave them hanging just a minute, and then to show the whole T-Rex, walking out. The reaction has been so fun. Like it's a big explosion from the audience, and they're hooting and hollering and clapping, and so it's so different than what I've typically done. That
well, and you get to end it. I wasn't going to give it away, but you've already said it. So it
sorry.
ends with a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex walking. Like that's just an
Isn't
awesome
he so
ending.
fun?
I mean,
Thank
if every
you.
picture book could just end with a T-Rex just walking
out the
like
page.
just bones, it's awesome. Yeah. So that was a good ending.
Thank
anyway.
you.
Yeah. So okay, well this is actually my favorite part of the interview. This is the stuff Betsy should know but doesn't portion.
Oh, okay.
So this gets good. So your illustrator is the multi-talented Matt Myers.
Amazing.
He is amazing. And he's known for a whole plethora of books. He's done Battle Bunny with John Sheska and Mac Barnett and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with him before this?
No.
Did you know him at all before this?
I knew his work. I didn't know him personally. We had a small list of possibilities, and I actually asked for Matt.
Oh, why did you ask for Matt?
Because I think he has such a diverse talent that I thought I didn't want to point to this book and have it and say, I want it to look like that or that or that. I thought, I want to be surprised, and I want this to be kind of an organic thing for the artist to be inspired and to come up with something fresh. And I've never seen this style from him before, this sort of watercolor.
If you just covered up his name,
you
I
wouldn't
would not
guess.
have known it was
Yeah.
him. No, it's
so
completely
since
different.
we've worked on this, we've met, and I adore him, but he's I think a tremendous talent. Yeah.
Was there a particular book of his that you were thinking of or just the fact that he can change his style?
I think just to grab 5 of his books and go, wow, what total artist, total talent. Yeah. So.
No, that makes perfect sense. Now, you keep getting good artists on your books.
Yeah, I'm very blessed.
And I can only assume that you make animal sacrifices under a blue moon to acquire them in some way. But you've sort of answered my question to a certain extent. And actually, another question of mine that you answered to a point was, what was it about Matt? What did he do with this book that you didn't expect?
So this is kind of, when I present the book in schools, I use my Mac and project it onto a big screen. And there are 2 parts of the book where I say, how do you think Tiny's feeling right now? And there's nothing in the text really to indicate, but he has somehow, and I look at it and I think, I'm going to get the page. I think, what do the kids see that is so obvious that I don't? So this one, so I show the page and I say, how do you think Tiny's feeling right now? And they all shout out, sad. And I'm like, okay. And then a few later, there is this one, and I say, and how do you think he's feeling now? And they say, sad and a little mad. And I think I think he has an ability to capture emotion in a way that kids maybe read even more proficiently than adults do. I don't know, before I read any of the text, I show that, and they ultimately know the mood of the page. So I think that's pretty interesting.
That is interesting. In Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, he has a large portion on how simple drawings are way more accessible to readers than really complicated, fancy ones.
Yeah, you might be right.
That people really identify with almost the more cartoonish things to a certain extent. And it's the simplicity of the face to a certain extent that kids can sort of really like get behind and grasp, and then can sort of put their own feelings on.
Yeah, there's some nuances that he's brought in that, like I said, maybe I'm just, is it like old taste buds? We don't taste any nuances anymore. But the kids pick it up right away. Sad and a little mad. I'm like, wow, that's pretty incredible. So, and then there are little details in here. There's a worm that I had never noticed that the kid goes, I hear a kid go, oh, look at the worm. I'm like, there's a worm? Oh, yeah, nice. There's a worm. So I think he's done a really nice, and his pacing is good. He's got a very theatrical sense of pacing that I like a lot. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, and I think you sort of touched on this. The point is like people kind of assume that if your illustration is simple, that it's simple to do, or that it's simplistic, but it's not. In the case of picture books, in any case,
I would agree.
It is a very conscious choice a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Or the person can't draw. One of the two. I'm not sure which. He can draw. He can draw.
Yeah,
he can draw fine. He's very good at it. Yes. So will we be seeing Tiny again in the future?
I hope so. Tiny was part of a package, so I'm hoping that my editor and I can work together and figure out what book 2 looks like.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I'm excited. I love him. He's very sweet, and I love his kid. His name's Joe. I've named him Joe.
Okay.
You wouldn't know his name's Joe, and Matt probably doesn't know either. But Joe, I love Joe.
I'm sure he gave him his own name.
I'm sure he does.
And you're going to
but he'll have
present
change
together
it when
someday, and you're going to be fighting over what
what his name is.
the unnamed kid's name is.
Right.
Exactly. So you have a very good how you got started writing picture books story.
Yeah.
Can you tell me that story?
Well, I'd be delighted, Betsy.
Please.
And you can pretend you've never heard it.
Exactly. I've never heard it in person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it might be. I might have been reading completely incorrect things.
So I had, I still have them, my sons. I still have 2 sons.
Oh, good.
At the time, I've got them.
Yeah.
At the time, they were 6 and 2. I had a 2-year-old. My 2-year-old was just fanatical about trucks. And so, bedtime, cuddle up in bed, pull out the books. I Stink.
Oh, yeah.
The garbage truck. Yeah, she's great. My Big Truck book. Every book called Construction Site, Construction Alphabet.
Pretty sure I've checked every single one.
Right.
Of those out,
So
yes.
the problem was that, to your earlier point about maybe there needing to be a pace for settling down,
Right.
we would end with him just completely revved up.
Right.
No pun intended.
Wired.
So, then it would lead to, excited talk about what a truck could do that maybe I didn't know, or, maybe he could take out some trucks now and play with them. We would try to do prayers, and it would be like, God, thank you for excavator, bulldozer, and thank you for crane truck, and it was just the process of trying to get this little, and you know how tired we are when they're 2, right?
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
I got a 3-year-old.
All you want to do is go to bed.
I'm still tired.
And I couldn't leave him like that. He was so insane. And so we started to tell each other this story. So Zach, I think that right now at the construction site, the dump truck is dumping his last load. Can you see him? He's dumping his last load, and he's driving away and lowering his bed and putting up his gate and turning off his engine and going to sleep. And then Zach would say, okay, Mom, I see a crane truck, and right now it's putting its last load off of its hook, and it's folding it. So that is how we would end our day. You had mentioned earlier I was a graphic designer in my previous career. I've always loved, picture books are for me the ultimate mix of visual and words. There is no sort of higher art form for putting those things together. I spent years doing, brochures and sell sheets and logos and, stuff that became birdcage liner and the day after, the mad rush to get it out. But I've always just really had a reverence for the medium. Anyway, so one particular night, I tuck him in, exhausted mom finally gets to put her head on the pillow, and I'm just, kind of setting my head on the pillow, and I jolt up and I think, good night, construction site. And it was like, it was a gift. It's winning the lottery. I had.
Did you Google it to see if it had been
Well,
done?
I sat in bed and I could sort of hear my pulse in my ears. I was so excited. And I thought, surely this has been done before.
Sure.
But then I'm thinking, but if I were going to do this, here are the 5 trucks, and I could hear, good night, cement mixer, good night. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. And then I was like, I wonder how you sell a book. I wonder if, do you go on one of those, home shopping network shows? How do you sell a book? How do you make a book and sell a book? So I woke up the next morning, and so it was 2008. And I know that doesn't sound maybe like that long ago, but our process of being able to Google and what was available. So as best I could on Amazon, or the evil Amazon, for all my indie bookseller friends, or Googling to try to find, does this already exist? And I couldn't find anything. I still wasn't 100% sure. Anyway, I spent maybe a month writing it. I sketched it, which was unnecessary, but I didn't know. And then I wrote it and put it together and sent it to one publisher. And it was Chronicle Books. I sent it unsolicited through the slush pile.
You sent it to one of the most beautiful publishers.
Well, and that was the thing. As a graphic designer, I noticed their paper quality.
Oh, that makes sense.
And their beautiful illustrations. And, they're weird. Like, I read Nina Layden's The Night I Followed the Dog. And that is such a beautiful book, but so weird.
That's a weird one.
And I thought, maybe if they're willing to take a chance on a book that odd, that maybe they'd be willing to take a chance on a, never wrote a book before.
I love that method of finding a publisher. Who's into the weird? You're in.
Well, I don't know. They're San Francisco, so you're like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
They'll do anything. They do entire books of paint swatches. Like,
well, see, right? Yeah. So it turned out to be like the perfect fit. But
it was the perfect fit.
That's my sort of Cinderella story. And I could quit my horrible job designing birdcage liner and do this lovely work full time.
So. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And it shows because, as a mother of a child who is very into construction equipment, you can tell when the authors are into construction equipment and when they're not.
Yeah.
And they write the book, and you clearly knew what you were
Well,
talking
I
about.
did have a 2-year-old expert on site, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you could have that checked in-house.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense. Is there anything that you want to do that you haven't tried yet? Is there like a YA novel inside of you? Is there like nonfiction? Is there poetry? Is there, because you rhyme, because this book rhymes.
Yes.
It rhymes a lot?
It does rhyme a lot, yeah.
It's almost poetry.
So, my Virginia Lee Burton book might be
that's
my
true. That was
only
nonfiction.
foray into nonfiction.
That was nonfiction.
I'm not one that we have beautiful, incredible nonfiction authors in our area, as you know.
Sure.
And I admire so much what they do. That's not really an interest or a passion of mine unless maybe some subject matter would hit me.
Right, and that was a very personal project.
Yeah, and that was a total labor of love. I have written my first chapter book. So I will say I have a lot inside me, but whether or not it will ever be seen, because is it any good? It remains to be seen. But I do have a freelance editor that I've been working with. I've done 17 versions of this chapter book. Ooh. Yeah, it's not that big. It's only, right now 7,000 words, so I'm really making myself crazy.
You're getting it good. You're not just lopping off the first thing you have and just
let's hope it's just not getting worse every pass. So I would love to do that. I think there's a little part of the graphic designer in me. I never want to call myself an illustrator, but I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of designing a book.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so whether it folds in an interesting way or opens or the color, I don't know. But I'm starting to sort of think.
Some of the great children's books were done by graphic designers. The Graphic Alphabet won a Caldecott honor many years ago.
Right, and
so
I certainly have not those aspirations, but I think I'm kind of wishing to maybe do something a little more visual. So
that's so nice.
Yeah.
Super nice. Okay, and then so this kind of. It's kind of the same question, but I kind of want to ask it anyway. What are you working on next?
If I weren't 50, I could see the questions, but I'd be like...
exactly. I'm not exactly...
What am I working on next?
Them, yeah.
Okay, so what am I working on next? So at the end of the year, Construction Site on Christmas night comes out.
There's another construction site book?
There is. I am looking at proofs right now, and I'm thrilled. I'm very, very excited. Tom is not illustrating it.
Ooh.
I know. That's a little juicy tidbit I'll just kind of toss at you.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good to know.
He is still part of the brand and will always remain part of the brand, but I think the day-to-day construction site stuff limited his creative ability to do other things. He's an artist, a soul of an artist, totally. So like I said, I'm working on a chapter book. I've got a picture book that's being shopped right now. I have a YA in me, not a YA. Too dark.
You're here first, folks.
No,
She's got a YA.
I have a middle grade novel that I've been messing with.
good,
So we'll
good.
see. Yeah.
Oh, that's super.
Well, maybe.
I'll
send it to you. You can tell me what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, man, thank you so much for coming by here.
Thank you
This
for
was
having
really
me.
fun.
It was really fun. I
good.
love our matching outfits. That was a nice surprise.
All right.
All right.
Oh, well, all right. So just to remind everybody who got a little unclear in the course of things, because I do like to kind of wander around my topics until I finally get to the one I'm supposed to be talking about. But we were talking about Tiny and the Big Dig with Sherri Duskey Rinker. And it is $16.99. It is published by Scholastic. And thank you so much, Scholastic, for letting her come on and be with us here today. It was lovely. And right now, we're going to let you know what's coming up on Author's Voice here. Other people who are going to be interviewed on these fine programs, just to sort of let you know. So here are some upcoming shows. First off, me, again. You get to see more of me. Hooray! Yes, so on March 6th at 1 p.m., you can watch on your lunch break. What else are you going to do? Eat food? Pah! You can watch me. I'll be talking to Kate Hannigan. She is the author of the new nonfiction picture book, A Lady Has the Floor. Belva Lockwood speaks out for women's rights. It is gorgeous. Art by Allison J. Is just fantastic. You got to check this out. It's going to be a lot of fun. On the show, A House Divided, March 10th at noon, you will get to meet Jan Jacoby, author of Young Lincoln. Because where are we? We're at the Abraham Lincoln Bookshop right now. You got to do some Lincoln. Stranger Than Fiction, that particular show, will be on March 15th at 3:30. The author Max Boot joins us to talk about The Road Not Taken. And then on Solved, it'll be a special on March 16th featuring the best-selling author Jeffrey Deaver himself. He's going to be there. It's his latest, The Burial Hour. That'll be on March 16th at 3 p.m. If you want to order your signed copy, you can do so at authorsvoice.net. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I missed my chance to get a signed book. No, you didn't. You can still do it after the broadcast. You can order it. There's a little link under the title here, and you can sort of do that. So thank you so much, Sherri, again, for coming with us.
Betsy. It's always nice to see you.
Thank you, all you guys, for watching, and good night.